Hi everyone, it's Siona from Honouring ME Crochet, and I'm here tonight to go live and teach you how to do corner to corner crochet. So I'm going to cover the basics. I've got 2 different colour yarns here so I can show you some colour change as well, and I'll end up making a little coaster or something. We'll see how we go. So anyway, I'm going to switch the camera around and get started. Alright, so to start, like you would with a lot of crochet with a slip knot, just move that back. Now, there's 2 ways that you can start. So unless you're going to have increases and decreases, I tend to increase with a chain 5. A lot of instructions and patterns will tell you to chain 6. The reason I do a chain 5 is that it makes it more compact and neater. I found when I did it with a chain 6, the squares ended up a bit too gappy and I didn't like it. Hi Jen. Hi Mum. So I'm about to get started. So I've got some dark grey. I know the light grey is not so great against the white background, but it's going to be for my husband, so I had to go with his colours. Alright, so I'm going to begin. I've done my slip knot. I'm going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'm going to work in the 3rd chain from the hook and do double crochet. So the only stitches used in this are double crochet, treble if you use UK terms, and the chain, and then another one. And essentially we're just working in blocks to create a much bigger piece. So 2, it's always tricky working into chains. I've just realised I didn't put my headphones in, so I'll do that so hopefully you can hear me a bit better. The joys of going live. Okay, so there we go. Hopefully that's a bit better. So there we've got our first block. So you've got the chain 2 on this end, and then you've got the 3 double crochet. And now for every increase, I'm going to chain 5. If you like it looser, then you can chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you're going to turn the work. And like you did at the first one, you're going to work into the chains. So in the 3rd one, you're going to do 3 double crochet, 1 into each chain. Okay. My yarn's a bit messy. Okay, so I've got 2 blocks. Now you need to find the chain 2. So what you're going to do for each block is you connect it to the other one. So there's the chain 2 space, so insert, and you're just going to slip stitch that together. So then they're connected, and you see by having the chain 2 space they're a little bit more snug. And then you're going to chain 2, and then into that chain 2 space you're going to work 3 double crochet. Okay. Okay, so now you should have a little V. So there's the first square you worked, and then this is the 2nd row. So the rows are going to work across the diagonal. Okay, and we're going to keep increasing, so we're going to chain 5 again. 2, 3, 5, and turn. Okay, and then work in the 3rd chain from the hook. They can be a bit tricky to find, so just, if it's easier, count backwards to the 3rd chain. Works the same. And then work in there again, 1, 2, 3. It'll tend to turn a little bit as well. Okay, so there's your V. So then you've got to find, so you've got the 1, 2, 3 double crochet, so you find your chain 2 space and slip stitch it together. There you go, so you've joined them, chain 2, and then do your 3 double crochet into that space. 1, 2, oops, get entangled, 3. And then again the chain 2 space of that square, just slip stitch, chain 2, and then work your 3 double crochet into that chain 2 space. 1, 3. And then again, so now we've got 1 in that row, 1, 2 in that row, and then 1, 2, 3. And again, we'll keep increasing. So go 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 10. And again, the third one, work into that chain. So it's quite rhythmic, quite simple. Where the tricky bits come in is if you're following an actual graph. So most of the patterns are shown as graphs rather than written. So if you're going to, okay, so that's that 3 slip stitch. If you're going to create one with a graph, I'd suggest starting out simple to start with and maybe just create stripes. Chain 2, because where it gets messy is with the colours, because you don't fasten off very regularly with corner to corner. You tend to have lots of balls of yarn stuck there. So when I created my daughter's blanket, I kept it as stripes because I wasn't in the mood for lots of balls of yarn going all over the place. So slip stitch, chain 2, and the 3 double crochet. Okay, so you got 3, slip stitch to the chain 2, chain another 2, sorry, and then do your 3 into that. 1, 2. Okay, so this one, so we won't make this super big because I don't want to bore you all night. So now I'm going to do a colour change. So I'm going to get my second colour. Now, if you're changing at the, if you're still increasing, then I would change by just making the chain 5 with the new colour. Sorry. So just do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just pull it so it's firm in there. You can see I've now got that second one attached. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4. Do one more. Okay, and then work into that third one. I'm going to leave the dark grey attached. So I might regret that, I might have to cut 2, 3. Okay, just keep them. Oh, didn't do that very well. and continue with that. So slip stitch to join, chain 2, then we'll continue, so you do 3, okay, let's see the contrast, and then slip stitch, chain 2, again. So you can see hopefully how this one becomes very addictive. Actually enjoyed doing this stitch. And slip stitch, chain 2. I'll do one more increase. I'll keep it in this colour. 1, 2. So I also, if you're working with multiple colours, I wouldn't, I sew in the ends as I go, but I wait till I've gone a few rows so that if you do have to pull it out, you can do it more easily. Okay, slip stitch, three, slip stitch, chain 2, oops. Okay. So hopefully that bit makes a bit of sense. Okay. You can see it just keeps getting longer one side. Okay, so I'll do one more square, slip stitch, okay, 1, 2, okay, now I was going to change back to the dark grey. Should have brought a second ball. So you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. Now, if I wanted, I'll do one more increase because I want to switch to grey. No? Of course, I don't have scissors with me. Alright, so I won't switch to the dark grey. We'll leave that over there. Okay, so now if I want to stop increasing, instead of going, So if I'm going to make it 5 by 5, or you could do a rectangle. So if you're doing a rectangle, you would continue increasing on one end and not on the other. And if you're going to do that, I recommend putting in a stitch marker so you know which one you're still increasing, because it is easy to forget. So on this one, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and then I'm going to slip stitch up the side. So slip stitch into that one, back 2. Though to be honest, I'd usually lazy and do 1, and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space, and then do your chain 2, and then you're going to work 3 into that one. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you continue. So then what happens, so if you see, oops, sorry, slip stitch, so you can see now you're starting to work the side. So you've got a corner there now. See that? Okay, so chain 2. Okay, and continue working blocks. Okay, slip stitch, chain 2. You can imagine, because I haven't taken that off, imagine how many yarns you could end up with if you're going with too many colours. Slip stitch. Okay. So I'm trying to work quickly to the end so that I can show you decrease again. Okay, so 3, that one. Okay, so again I'm going to make this a decrease. So instead of doing a chain 5, I'm just going to chain 1, turn, and then slip stitch up the side. So into the second one, to the third one, so they're just working into the tops of the double crochet, and then 1 into the chain space. You can get away with just the 1 and then the chain space, but I'll do it properly for you. So there's chain 2. Okay, and then turn. So then you can see now I've got my 4th side coming in from there. So you can see that. So we'll work there. I know my first time when I was making the little bag, I overstepped because I was making a rectangle and I did overdo the increases and had to pull lots out. So I do recommend if you're following a graph, definitely mark it off as you go. And if you're doing one that's quite detailed, you'll have to sit and figure out ahead of time how many balls of yarn, because you may end up having to either have lots of the one colour, so you might have 3 or 4 of one colour, or you can break it off and make little balls of each one depending on what it is you're making. But I'd say if you're starting out the first one, I'd just stick with stripes and not too many color changes, just so you can get in the habit of what you're doing. Okay. But this is quite a quick, easy thing to work with, easy pattern. 2, getting caught up. 3. Okay, chain 2. Oh, sorry, I've got a dog sneezing in the background. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this one is my last on that side as well. So into the chain 2 space, just slip stitch, chain 1 to turn, and then work your way up the side. So skip the first bit there, into that one. Oh. Did you not do so well, Jen? Okay. So there we go. Still working the squares. Doesn't end up so straight. I made a blanket for my daughter and she refused to let me put a border on it, which irked me, but I've accepted it. But I think a border would tidy it up. Oh dear. Yes, I've seen some very elaborate corner to corners, and while they look fantastic, how they turn out, I just, all the different colours and joining are just mess with my head too much. I like crochet that's not complicated. But I definitely prefer it, see, it's all nice and squishy together. Prefer it with the chain 2 rather than the chain 3. With the chain 3 I found the squares were just too separate, and I think as you go to use it over time it'll just pull apart too much. So this is the last one on this one. Okay, and they get quicker and quicker obviously. So slip stitch, again chain 1, slip stitch up the side, and I'm going to be a little lazy this time, slip stitch into the corner. Cool. Grey's not that difficult to see, I guess, against the white. Not my plan, but what happens when you don't bring scissors. So again, if I was changing in the middle of a row, I'll just show the slip stitch. Let me see if I can pretend I'm not cutting the yarn, but anyway, I'll drag it across. This is the cheats way. So if you're joining another colour in the middle, I would just join with the slip stitch, like that. And then start with the next colour. I can't do that, hang on, let's see if I can. If I work further down there, I might be able to. Sorry, this will make sense, I promise. So let's just pretend I cut the yarn. So if I was joining here, I would slip stitch with the new colour and chain 2, and then you just drop the light grey and continue with the dark grey, though I did tend to just yarn over the ends so you got less of them to sew in as well, because that's a pain in the butt too. I do recommend having scissors and not doing it the way I am right now. And then if I switch back, I might just take that out. So you've seen what I did there. Just slip stitch with the new colour. And it's a lot neater. Take two. She makes quite a quick little. My plan is to make this a coaster. It was going to have a stripe, but I quite like it with the dark corner, so maybe I'll keep it that way. Two, three. Chain one, oops, chain one, turn, slip stitch. You can see we've only got a few more to do. Slip stitch and into the space. Chain two. Okay. Oops, missing my stitches now. Two, three, slip stitch. Oh, now I want to make another corner to corner blanket. This is why I end up with so many works in progress. Okay, chain one, where are we up to? Looks like this will be my last one. It's quite cute. Yay. Chain two. And that's it. We now have a cute little square. So I'm going to finish this off by working a little edge around it and try and turn that into a coaster. Probably do it with the dark grey, but let's start with this. So yeah, that's pretty much corner to corner crochet. I hope that was a little bit helpful. Just going to work, I should probably work into this. And I'll probably say goodbye now, unless anyone's got any questions or missed something. And I'll put this into the main page as well, and I'll even show off the finished product once I get it a nice little border on it. So thank you. Well, that's good, Jen. It's definitely worth it. The biggest thing is don't cut all the yarn off, because it just sits there and you just carry it through. But I would just practice with a single colour first to get used to it. Just work with stripes that go from one end to the other, because it's easier to practice the colour changes, and then yeah, go from there. All right, thank you all and enjoy your weekend. Cheerio.